GSX-R, Grand Sport Experimental Racer. It's not a Gixxer, and it's certainly not a Gixxer. The GSX-R750 won in its first year of asking at Le Mans in '85 when it was launched. It kind of set the standard for road and race-going sports bikes until Honda came along in 1992 with the Fireblade. By 1995, the GSX-R750 had been air oil cooled, liquid cooled, all kinds of cooled, but it was kind of viewed as being a little bit podgy, a little bit ponderous, and a little bit underpowered. By the mid-90s, something had to change, and in 1996, it definitely changed. So the GSX-R750 SRAD now falls into the qualifying criteria for the Classic Superbike race here at the Manx Grand Prix, and that's exactly what Steve Wheatman and his team have put together for Michael Dunlop this year. It is a development year. We're about to go and find out why. This is a tech piece that gets under the skin of their GSX-R750 and also the XR69 that they've got waiting in the wings. Always a crowd around this garage in particular. I'm here at Team Classic Suzuki to talk to Nathan Colombi, who's the team manager.
Yeah, sort of team manager, chief battalion.
He's the boss.
Team maker.
He's the guy that clicks his fingers and gets things done. I've barely seen you stood still for the whole thing, particularly up in Parc Fermé, running around like a madman getting things done.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a trying one this year. It's you know, a few things. We've had a few evenings rained off and stuff, and yeah, you know, trying to develop the new bike and stuff that we've got here, as well as trying to run the old bike as a bit of a backup, has sort of kept us on our toes a little bit. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I mentioned on the radio the other day, this SRAD 750 is, although it's been around since '96, it's in its development year as a kind of road race bike for you and the team.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously these were raced by the likes of Frankie Killy and Chris Walker in the UK and stuff.
Troy Corser and
exactly, huge amount of success on these bikes. Reality is, though, taking it from and this was originally an endurance bike from 1996, taking it from that to something that you can safely race around the TT is really a sort of next step on from it. It's something that nobody's really done before, probably. No. So it's opened up a whole new set of challenges
kind of
for
breaking
us.
the seal for the SRAD.
Exactly,
event,
yeah. I mean, the bikes are always renowned for razor sharp handling and their agility, and that's not always something you want when you're riding around here.
No, so let's start talking about some of the kind of tech specs then, because I know when I was getting in the way the other day, you were talking about, was it magnesium fork bottoms from back in the day, and you don't trust them?
Yeah, no, I mean, the era that this bike came out was really the level that world superbikes can run at is actually incredibly high. They had dry clutches, all the cases were magnesium, lightweight crankshafts, a lot of stuff that they're not actually allowed to do in world superbike these days.
Yeah.
And the forks, the triple clamps, a huge amount of components were all magnesium for lightweight. Well,
is that porous, or why can't you?
Yeah, just fatigues over time a lot more than aluminium, and when it breaks big time. So it's simply not worth the risk running old magnesium. So we've created a lot of our own components. We've reverse engineered all the triple clamps. We've made our own fork lowers, etc. They all look like magnesium, but they're actually Ali. They're brand new, so we can race them safely, and we can produce as many as we like as well.
And also within the kind of regulations.
Absolutely, we're very much the spirit of it. We could have put radial brakes on it, we haven't. We've kept the side-mounted calipers, we've got the two-piece calipers, trying to keep very much of the period of what we were allowed to race back there.
So are you able to point at bits on this bike here and say that's from back in the day and this is
no, absolutely. I mean, the frame and the engine are pretty much from back in the day. We've got the dry clutch down the side there. It's actually got a little carbon cover on it and stuff, makes a distinct rattle when you start the bike up. We've remade all the pistons, we've remade the valves and most of the moving stuff inside the engine. The swing arm, the frame, the fuel tank, etc. are all original parts.
From an endurance bike?
From an endurance bike from 1996. The bodywork we've remade. We had a body kit and we took moulds off that and we've recreated all the body kit, the air intakes. This is all carbon Kevlar, again for lightweight, and it's got great impact resistance. And then, as I said, we've actually took the original magnesium yokes and we've reverse engineered them. We've basically remade them in aluminium. And the forks, again, we wanted to keep the original look of the original factory showers, which was a very distinctive look of the GSX-R in that sort of era. So,
but what is that fork setup that you've got going on now then? I'm seeing K-Tech fork tops.
Yeah, so what we've done in particular, the fork, the in and outer tubes are GSX-R1000 because they're readily available.
Is that K8 or something?
This is K8, exactly, And then the fork lowers down here, we've remade these lowers, we've remade the swivel brackets for the mudguard to look very much like the Showas.
Yep.
And then K-Tech have provided us with the 25mm sealed cartridge kit,
yep,
and with their rear shocks. So we've got a very modern sort of suspension package, but then hopefully what looks like a retro and a kind of fitting, a fitting sort of look for the bike.
Yep. Let's talk about the motor then.
The motor, yeah.
Yeah, so I think off the top of my head, these were stock showroom floor 96, 128 horsepower at the brochure.
Somewhere in that sort of region, yeah, somewhere in that sort of region.
So where do you start when you're building a motor for this event, and what's the kind of target power output on it?
I mean, target power output, in order to run with the Kawasaki's around here, you're going to be
155 at the wheel.
I was going to say, we've got to be looking at sort of mid to high 150s.
Yep.
We're around that sort of area at the moment. I'm not going to give away any exact specifics of it all, but there is some traits that, you know, we've learnt ourselves, and we need to, for example, this engine here in particular has got a lightweight crank. And that's something we're actually going to put a heavier crank in the bike next year to give the engine more inertia.
Okay.
Because you're not shutting off and going into corners, and you don't want the engine picking up at quite the same rate you do as a World Superbike. Carrying that into the corner, carrying the inertia in the engine will help.
Is that coming from Michael's feedback?
A lot of it's coming from Michael's, and also just what we know, but unfortunately with the time we've had to do it, it's not always possible to do everything you want to do.
Yep.
So we'll take, you know, to be able to get that sort of power, the engine's obviously quite highly strung, but in the same time the paramount thing is reliability, because this place here is so hard on engines in particular, and there's no point in being the fastest guy for 3.5 laps. So you know, there's a lot of work's gone into the cylinder head, the camshafts, titanium valves, very small slipper pistons.
But reliability and power.
It really is something that goes hand in hand, and we need to try and you know, get one without compromising the other. But again, the only place you can test that, you can do all the testing you like in the UK and in Spain, but until you get on the roads of the Isle of Man, it throws up its own set of parameters that you have to deal with.
So what about the torque? Have you pushed that anywhere else in the rev range?
Torque, not really, no. You know, the thing with these bikes is when they first came out, when they were running them at World Superbike, they had a choice of 6 options for every single gear, plus 3 different primaries, plus your final drive ratio. So they really could gear the bike for every single corner of a short circuit. Obviously here we have to pick a gearbox that's very much an average, take a bit of an average, get top gear, work your way back from there. So I mean, torque of the engine is something that, you know, you try when you're doing getting the power, the torque comes where it comes, and there's not a huge amount you can really do about that. So really the movement for next year, this year is very much a trial year for this bike, and next year really is going to be to try and start, you know, building an engine with a little bit more inertia. Absolutely, absolutely. Hence we have the 69 with us as well.
Lined up there, waiting in the wings.
Yeah, she's done brilliantly this week again. You know, Michael jumped on it the other day, went straight out, did a 124 and followed by a 125 on it. So 2 good quick laps straight out the box, and then again rode that last night. We did a few little changes to it, rode it again last night, really good. And
the issues that had with the gearbox the other day, it was either you or Justin or Craig, the team. There's only really 3 guys putting tools on these bikes. Somebody said that, it might have even been Michael, that said the bike had been sat for a couple of years, and that was probably why the
I mean, I think it's just mileage on the gearbox, to be honest.
And Isle of Man mileage.
Isle of Man mileage on it. And you know, Michael is, and I'm sure he's freely admit, he's quite hard on engines and stuff, and he doesn't take any prisoners. But I wouldn't want it any other way, you know. Unfortunately, we lost 4th gear in the afternoon. Guys worked really, really hard, and we had the engine out, stripped the engine, put a new gearbox in it, back in within sort of 2 hours, or 2.5 hours.
And then you did a 124 standing start, straight out, and a 125 flyer.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, Michael's comments at the top, simply said, "You've run it through the box, haven't you?" Like, yeah, we've run it through the box a couple of times. And I expected him to pull away and do no, not Michael. Not Michael, so yeah.
So if we come back to this bike and move to kind of this section, swing arm spec.
Swing arm is actually a 1997 factory Suzuki swing arm. Okay. So this is the lights that, again, they would have been running at the World Superbike.
World Supers.
Yeah, the 96 swing arm was a little bit shorter. And the endurance bike that this started off as, the swing arm was shorter and wider, and they actually made the swing arm too strong. They made it for the very quick release rear wheel, which we don't need here, and it just compromised the handling a little bit. So we've gone
too much torsional rigidity.
Correct. Yeah, and too short. Too short. Around here, again, stability is the number one thing around here.
And these rear sets?
These rear sets, again, these are copies of the original factory rear sets that Suzuki were running back in the day. We've made all these components from making the carbon fibre. The lever here is actually original magnesium. This is the one component that is magnesium that's retained on the bike. The foot pegs we've made, the pins, the spacers, the plates, the carbon mounts, have all been
so
been made.
When you say made, are you 3D printing or something? And then
this is all machined. So again, we reverse engineer. So we draw and we then get local machine companies to remanufacture the parts. All made out of good quality materials, and we can control the age and the quality of everything.
Well, there's so many things to talk about next. Let's go with the exhaust system. And I can remember seeing these on road bikes in magazines back in the day.
Yeah, they're very, I mean, it's again a very traditional look with the Suzuki SRAD race bike, which is a very long can. This system is actually one of the original systems on the bike. Yep. So I think this is like a 98 system, this one.
So this would have been endurance racing back in the day?
This is actually a short circuit pipe on this one. But yeah, the long titanium can was very Suzuki, very SRAD-esque from back in the day.
What about the wheels?
The wheels are modern. The wheels are Rose Eds. We run the modern wheels simply because, again, the magnesium wheels you're not allowed to. And you wouldn't trust them? I don't trust them. So we have OZ make the aluminium wheels. So brilliant, just bolt straight in and forget about them. Calipers are the Brembo two-piece calipers. So again, the monoblocks didn't really start coming into production until sort of 98, 99. So again, keeping very much within the spirit of the rules, we thought we'd run the two-piece calipers. They're a billet caliper, so they're very strong. And we run the Brembo Z04 pads with the Brembo master cylinder, and quite simply, for an option on this sort of bike, it's absolutely no problem at all. You know, the TT is not the hardest on braking, but we don't get any complaints at all regarding the brakes.
And what do you, in terms of gathering data, I mean, I can see a Motec dash. So what level of data have you got?
At the moment, not a huge amount.
No.
We've got the facilities and we've got the parts to fully do a chassis telemetry, but it's something, again, with time, it's just not been possible to set up for this particular year, but it's something we'll work on a lot more with short circuit stuff, start gathering some data. At the moment, we're really going on Michael's feedback and what he wants, and you know, Michael knows his course better than anybody else in the world, and he knows what he needs to make himself go quick. So we rely on communication with Michael and seat of the pants.
I could talk about this bike all day, Nathan, but I can hear a bike about to start in the background.
No problem at all.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much indeed, no problem at all.